It is 6:25 in the morning on the 6th of June, 1944, and you're crammed shoulder to shoulder with 30 other men in a flat steel box bouncing across the English Channel. And every single one of you is going to find out in the next 10 minutes whether you live or die. You can't see the beach yet. You can't see anything except the gray steel walls of the landing craft rising on either side of you, the spray coming over the top in cold sheets, and the back of the helmet of the man pressed against your face. The water in the bottom of the boat is up to your ankles and it is freezing, and it sloshes with every wave, mixed now with vomit because almost everyone has been sick. You have been seasick for an hour. Your stomach is empty and still trying to turn itself inside out. Your rifle is wrapped to keep the salt water out of the barrel, which felt absurd this morning and feels like a sick joke now. Your pack weighs 60 pounds. They told you that if the ramp drops in deep water and you go under, you will not be coming back up. Nobody is talking. The only sounds are the engine, the sea, and somewhere ahead of you, getting louder, a low continuous rumble like a thunderstorm that never stops. Because it is not a thunderstorm, it is the German guns waking up, and they are waiting for you. You think you know what is coming because they briefed you, because you saw the maps and the little wooden models and the officers pointing with sticks. But you do not know because no map tells you what it feels like when the man next to you grips your arm so hard it bruises, or when the chaplain's voice cracks halfway through the prayer, or when you realize that the slope of sand they drew so neatly on the briefing board is the most heavily defended stretch of coastline on the entire planet, 4 miles of it. The Germans have had 4 years to build this. There are concrete bunkers dug into the bluffs above you with walls thick enough to shrug off a battleship shell. There are machine gun nests positioned so their fire crosses, so that every inch of that beach is covered by overlapping streams of bullets, with no gaps, no dead ground, nowhere that is safe. There are mortars zeroed in on the waterline. There are artillery pieces hidden in the cliffs that have already worked out the exact range to where your boat is going to stop. There are mines by the tens of thousands, and steel obstacles in the surf shaped like giant jacks, many of them with shells wired to the top so they explode if you so much as brush them. And the men manning all of it have been told that the war is lost if you reach the top of that bluff, which means they are going to spend everything they have to make sure you don't. The naval bombardment that was supposed to soften all of this up has just lifted. For a few minutes, the warships behind you threw everything they had at the shore, and you felt the concussions in your chest and thought, surely nothing could live through that. But the smoke is clearing now, and the truth is that most of those shells landed long, sailing harmlessly over the bunkers and exploding in the empty fields behind, and the German defenses are almost completely intact. The bombers came too, hundreds of them, and dropped their loads a fraction of a second too late to avoid hitting their own men, so their bombs are cratering the pastures a mile inland while the beach itself sits untouched and waiting. You don't know any of this yet. You just know the guns have stopped roaring from behind you and started roaring from in front, and the coxswain at the back of your boat is shouting something you can't hear, and the engine note changes, and the bottom of the boat scrapes and shudders, and a voice you will remember for the rest of your short life screams the only word that matters: ramp. The front of the boat falls forward, and the world ends. There is no slow reveal, no dramatic moment to take it in. The steel ramp slaps down into the surf, and in the same instant, the air in front of you is solid with bullets. The German machine gun, the MG-42, fires so fast it doesn't sound like individual shots. It sounds like fabric tearing, like a chainsaw, a single endless ripping note, and the men call it Hitler's buzzsaw. And now you understand why. Because the lieutenant standing at the front of the boat, the man who is going to lead you up the beach, is gone before he takes a single step, cut nearly in half, dropping backward into the water. The man behind him drops. The man behind him drops. The gunner zeroed in on that ramp before it ever fell, and the boat has become a chute, funneling you directly into a stream of fire. and you understand in a fraction of a second that the worst place on this entire beach is exactly where you are standing. So you don't go down the ramp, you throw yourself over the side. You go into water that is over your head, and your 60-pound pack drags you straight down toward the sand, and your boots fill, and your lungs are already burning, and you claw at the buckles of your equipment with numb fingers, because the choice is simple now. Drop the pack or drown wearing it. You shed it. You kick. You break the surface gasping, and the sound hits you all over again. The screaming, the engines, the buzzsaw, the wet smacking sound of rounds hitting the water all around you, and the different, heavier sound when they hit a man. The sea is not blue. It is the color of rust, and it is getting darker. You see a soldier near you simply stop and float, face down, his pack still on, and you understand he chose wrong, or the choice was made for him. You are chest deep now, and you cannot run. The water holds you. Every step is in slow motion, while the bullets are not slow at all. And 100 yards of open beach stands between you and the only cover there is. A low ridge of stones at the high tide line, which might as well be 100 miles. You make the water line. You don't know how. You're crawling now because anyone standing is a dead man. And the sand around you is churning with little spurts where the rounds are landing, and you press yourself so flat. You are trying to push your own body into the earth. Around you, the beach is a thing out of a nightmare. There are men everywhere, and most of them are not moving. There are men crying for their mothers, which is not a phrase. It is a real sound that real grown men make, and you will hear it in your sleep if you are lucky enough to ever sleep again. There is a soldier sitting upright in the open, staring at his own legs, in too much shock to understand he needs to move. There are medics crawling between bodies with red crosses on their helmets that mean nothing to the machine gunners. The tide is coming in behind you, and it is coming in fast, faster than a man can crawl when he is wounded. And the men too hurt to move are being taken by the sea one by one, and there is nothing anyone can do about it, and everything in you wants to go back, and there is no going back. The tanks were supposed to be here. They launched the special floating tanks early, miles out, and the water was too rough, and nearly all of them flooded and went straight to the bottom of the channel with their crews still inside. So the armored support that was meant to roll up this beach and blast those bunkers open is sitting on the seabed, and you are facing concrete with a rifle that may or may not still fire. Your officers are dead or pinned or scattered across a beach that doesn't match the map, because the current dragged the boats sideways and dropped everyone in the wrong place. So the careful plan, the assignments, the objectives, all of it has dissolved into a few hundred terrified men lying behind a foot-high bank of shingle, leaderless, soaked and bleeding, while the most disciplined army in Europe shoots down at them from a fortified ridge. And this is the part the briefing could never have prepared you for, because the thing that decides whether you live is not the plan, and not the equipment, and not the bombardment that failed. It is whether, in the next few minutes, a single sergeant or a single private somewhere along that bank of stones decides that staying here means dying here, and gets up and goes forward, and whether anyone follows. Because that is what actually happened, not a glorious charge. A few men at a time, here and there, deciding that the only way off this beach alive is up and through, finding the gaps the engineers blew in the wire, climbing the bluff under fire while the man beside them falls, getting close enough to a bunker to put a grenade through the slit. Inch by inch, body by body, paid for in a currency you can see all around you. Within the first hour on this stretch of sand, whole companies will cease to exist. In one of the first units to land here, of the men who came in on that first wave, only a handful will still be standing by the time the tide turns. The casualties on this single beach this morning will run into the thousands. So when someone asks whether you would survive 10 minutes as a soldier on Omaha Beach, understand what the question really means. It means whether you survive the moment the ramp drops, when survival has nothing to do with courage or skill, and everything to do with which side of the boat you happen to be standing on.